a week, and then his dad made him return it. And he just, same guy, one of my close friends who I trust says that he got invited over there once, and he's like, yeah, we used to hang out sometimes, and I was honestly afraid to tell him no. Like, he'd be like, dude, come over and hang out. And I'd be like, all right. And then he brought me into his room once, and there was like really nice shit that like a 17-year-old, 18-year-old shouldn't be able to afford. And he had like a chest full of money. And I'm like, a chest full of money. And he's like, it was a big, and I was like, really? And he's like, okay, well, it was a chest that you keep clothes in, and there was a shit ton of money on top of the clothes. And I'm like, okay, that sounds more realistic than a chest of money.
You better be over so we could.
There were all these potions.
All these potions. Yeah, all this loot that he had found. But yeah, he was always out for a good time. Writing stuff on the wall and shit, selling huge amounts of drugs to gangsters.
Dude, you always made this guy sound like a piece of shit, literally, because he was the poop bandit, right? he's leaving despicable messages.
We all thought it was funny,
written in feces. And well, I mean, modern day me thinks it's despicable. I bet his hands smelled all day. I mean, I bet he had the most nagging case of pink eye you've ever heard of. But now I'm hearing he was some sort of Tony Montana of high school, that he was running shit. Because what's implied by your story is that he was so tough at 17, 18 that he could like inject himself into the adult criminal underworld, and they wouldn't just take his shit. You know what I mean? Like some tough guy would like look him up and down and be like, "Give me your all this and the money." You know,
dude, I would not be surprised if he was being taken for a ride by whoever he was selling stuff to. But he was selling huge amounts of pills. He just had to like keep going back to whatever well or seedy family hookup he had that got him for him. And so like, to my knowledge, he was never doing like little time sales, because I didn't know anybody my age, and he was my age, who were doing prescription pills in 2007.
That's badass.
Like, no one was doing that.
You should still be friends.
I guess that was pretty cool. I'm going to reach out to him. I'm going to find a way. I have like 2 friends who might be able to contact him. You know, you might not believe this. Him and the fire poi guy used to be close.
The fire poi guy. You know the flaming things on like strings? You swing them around like in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it'd be like just the most like it'd be like a field day in 8th grade or something, and everyone, when you're in 8th grade, you're like, oh, I'm going to talk to my friends and hang out and do fun things that 8th graders do. Maybe we'll play like some way too rough 2-hand touch football on the pavement or something, and having a good time. And like this guy, when we were like 13, was like showing up like blasted on hallucinogens. Like it didn't make sense. He is someone that I always suspected. I also didn't know if he had family stuff going on, but it was always like, this guy does a tremendous amount of drugs for someone our age. Like I'm played Pokemon this weekend.
Yeah.
And he's like seeing things on field day.
Yeah, I didn't know anybody who did drugs. I wasn't cool enough.
You weren't cool enough?
I guess not.
You didn't know anyone that did drugs?
Not like drugs like that. Like there'd be like a couple of guys and you're like, yeah, we get higher. And then there was like some losers that would huff gasoline and shit. But nobody had like, Taylor's like, yeah, he'd come to school blasted on hallucinogens. I didn't know what those were. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
we didn't either.
I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I knew people who did lots of drugs, every drug. And it didn't make me cool in the slightest. These were the other guys whose names started with W, who sat in the back of every class, and I think got ruined for it. We were always alphabetized in my schools. So I was like in the back with my fellow losers. I don't want to, I was no different.
Woody Adams had a different life.
Yeah, I honestly wonder if I'd be a far better student if my last name was Allen or something.
You wouldn't be as funny, though.
Would have forced you to, because you couldn't have goofed off as much. It would have been like, hey, shut the fuck up. We're learning.
Right? And everyone back, like behind you, sees you. But yeah, I was in the back of every class.
Did you know were there a lot of kids at your school, Richard, do drugs early?
No, dude, I've never done any drugs myself, so I.
Kids in high school, their teeth were green and brown. Like,
yeah,
and
that's not drugs.
Fuzzy. Well, I mean, Kyle gets it.
It's downstream.
You feel like you've got an eye on your shoulder, looking over everything you're doing all the time.
Yeah, that's fair. When you're putting miniguns in Teslas, you can't be fruiting around with that shit.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. We're about in high school though. Like even in high school, like I just didn't have access to those drugs. I would hear people some people would talk about it, but nobody was offering me any drugs.
I told the story that
even
these guys
smoking.
got jobs at the grocery store so they could huff all the Ready Whips. They just do like 24 cans and then
That's
put
awesome.
the remainder on the shelves. These nearly dead Ready Whips. That's Ready Whip, right? That's the one.
Yeah. Or
Yeah,
Whip It, either one. They're brand. Those are both brands.
And
I
that's
mean,
why
did
they
you
work
guys
there.
have, like, dudes go to high school with hunting rifles in their back windows or anything like that?
Yeah.
Gun
Not in
racks?
their back window, but
Not
they'd
really.
have it behind their seat sometimes. Like if they went hunting that morning, especially. But see, 9/11 happened, or not 9/11, but Columbine. What was that? Was that 99?
99.
So like I was there, I was going to high school right as all that was ending. And it was like, hey, if anyone's got a shotgun or a rifle in your seat out back and the parking lot, certainly no one wants to know about it, and don't go do anything today, but don't bring it to school with you. There was a whole thing like because kids would go hunting in the morning and then they'd come to class.
Mhm.
And you wouldn't have, they'd be in their camouflage, in class. Like you wouldn't have time to go home and stash your gun. But that had to all end after Columbine, obviously.
Yeah, it was like, I remember before Columbine, hazing, a lot of times guys would bring paint guns to, we had the way our football fields were, as practice field was on a plateau, the game field was down, and then the school was down. So sometimes, like for hazing, guys would get put in ball bags and shot with paint gun markers and stuff. And like, I mean,
It's a good camaraderie building.
Nobody was overly sensitive about like guns, even when I was in high school from like 2000, 2004 or whatever. Because I remember I had an airsoft pistol in my like center console, and I would like brandish it at other students.
Did you like draw over the orange?
Yeah, it looked like a real, like this thing looked like a Beretta, like a Beretta, like M9 or something like that, like from Lethal Weapon. That's why I wanted it, and it looked like a real gun as much as any real gun. And whenever we would leave school and all the students, we'd all go get in our cars and we'd be in this big like line of 300 cars melting down to 2 lines leaving the school. I'd brandish at my buddies or people. And maybe I'd pop them a few, pop, like shoot their windows. Nobody was scared. They were like, ha, Kyle's got his, is that real? No, don't worry. Like, but nobody was like ratting me out or making a big deal of it.